Hi everyone, my name is Simone and I'm originally from Verona, Italy. And I'm delighted to share with you the story of how I got to meet Paramahamsa Swami Vishwananda. And I remember this to be one of the most exciting days of my life. But it started out in April 2016, and back then I just came back from studying abroad in the United States, back into my hometown, and on a certain day I was going through an existential crisis. And a lot of things were difficult at the time, but more importantly I couldn't really understand why is it that I was here. And humbled by that process, I remember I started to cry, and I was crying very sincerely. And for the first time in a very long time, I decided to do a prayer. And the prayer said something like, "Hey Jesus, if you exist," because we never know, "would you please give me a sign? Or why is it that I came here? Because I really feel that otherwise I'm lost." And it was a very short moment after that prayer that, to my surprise, I actually received a message from a number that I didn't have. And the message read something like, "There's a fully enlightened master from Mauritius coming in your hometown tonight. I cannot go to this event. Would you like to go instead?" And in the moment when I read the message, I couldn't really make sense of it. I didn't connect it at all with my prayer. I just kept on going with my day. And a little later, the same day, a friend of mine texted me and he said, "Please don't miss out. There is this fully enlightened master. You should really go." So I decided, a little later that night to just go and see what that was all about. And I arrived at the location, and the location was closed. Nobody was around, and I said, "Well, that was just fake news." And as I was walking out that location, I saw a sign, and the sign said that because so many people came from all around the world, actually, the event was moved into my actual hometown in the theater, the Alida Ferrarini Theater. And my auntie, who used to be a soprano singer when she was alive, her name was Alida Ferrarini. So that was the very theater that was dedicated to her, and that was just inaugurated a few weeks before. So now I felt even more strongly the feeling of really going and see what was happening in my auntie's theater. So as I show up, I'm incredibly late, probably 45 minutes, and I'm given a wristband. I'm entering the theater, and I was completely shocked to what I saw, because of course that was the first time I was exposed to Indian music and Indian bhajan, and on the stage of my auntie's theater I see this image of what I later knew as Guruji, and the picture of a Holy Mary, and I was so confused to the point that I was almost irritated, and I said, "What are all these guys doing here at my auntie's place?" I kind of wanted to kick them out. And so I stand there for I think a minute, and then as I'm in the hall, hundreds of people, Guruji was singing just with his hands, shows me to enter. And so I said, "Okay, I'll enter, I'll see what this is all about." I sat at the very back. And during the whole satsang, I remember that he gave this question and answer, I remember feeling very uplifted by his perspective. He shared with us how all the religions are different doors to the same room, and perspective that I've never appreciated. So I really enjoyed it. But at the end of the event, I was just looking to go back home. And then suddenly he decided to turn the question and answer into a blessing. And I didn't know what that was about. I was just trying to walk out, and the moment as I was walking out the stairs, I felt this feeling in my body, this energy, almost like my body had no weight, no gravity. And just naturally I line up for this cue, and I received darshan, I received a blessing from Guruji. And still quite confused on my way out, I came to know a young man by the name of Ryan, and he's from South Africa. And we exchanged a few words. He told me more about Guruji. I was very intrigued, and we exchanged number, and that was it. And as I woke up the day after, I received a message now from Ryan asking me a specific question. Where was I sitting and who was I sitting with? And so I said, well, I was sitting at the very back, close next to this lady called Kamala from India. And said, oh, that's wonderful. Guruji has recognized you and he would like you to go to have a lunch with him. So now I said, okay, at that point I was like, okay, that's surreal. And I was a little concerned about what that was all about. So I, again, at the lunch came a little later and I had lunch with Guruji and just a few of his devotees. And by the end of the lunch, Guruji walked up to me and I was standing and we haven't talked yet. And he looked at me in my eyes. He grabbed one of my hands with two of his hands and looked at me in my eyes and says, yesterday you asked for a sign. And in that moment, I was overflown by this energy, in all my body. Because he not only did he address me, but he also used the very same phrase that I prayed to Jesus with. So now I knew that he knew. And everything came together. And that was really the beginning of my journey with Guruji. And the first question he asked me after that was, do you remember who you truly are? And that has been a continuous process. But what was beautiful then and what changed my life was really the fact that through that experience that Guruji gave me, I realized that God is not something just out there in the cloud, but the moment that I asked, He came and gave me the sign that I so desperately need. And one of the most beautiful things that I heard Guruji saying the day after, as I spent more time with him, he said, the moment that we just make the first step towards God, then God will take all the remaining steps, 10 steps, 100 steps towards us to bring us where we need to be. And how grateful I felt that He came all the way, to Verona to grab me, and to take me into this journey.